then I'd look for a guy like James White on angle routes over the middle a lot. I think the Patriots want to get matchups against linebackers because that's the weak spot in the safeties. And again, it comes down to it all goes together. So I know your question specifically about blocking the defensive line, but to me, if the Rams just line Aqib Talib on the outside, and same thing with Marcus Peters to shut down, Philip Dorsett and Chris Hogan, then the Patriots are going to get what they want over the middle, and it doesn't matter how good that pass rush is. So, but if they do the other thing and it's neutral, I think that the Patriots, I don't think that, Brady's going to get hit like he did in the 2007 Super Bowl against the Giants, but he certainly won't be. I think he's had like three QB hits on him, and he hasn't been sacked yet in the postseason. We certainly won't see that unless, again, the Rams basically give him what he wants over the middle, and then it's going to be a long night for the Rams.
Yeah, I'm not seeing. The more I think about it, the more I think the Rams don't really have a chance here. I think for one reason, it's really their first time, this group in the Super Bowl, and it's just it's such a crazy situation and such a weird thing to get used to that they're not going to start out hard. And let's say New England gets the ball first. This whole postseason, as soon as they get the ball, they do a long drive down the field and score a touchdown, and almost the game is over by then. So yeah, I don't think the Rams have much of a chance, or at least they won't start out strong.
Yeah, I think the first drive is going to be super telling. Then again, it might not be because the Patriots until last year had never, this is the ninth Super Bowl they're going to in the first seven. At least Brady and Belichick, there's two before that, but they had never scored in the first quarter of a Super Bowl in all those years. So, and they finally did last year. So I as a Patriot fan, I won't hit the panic button if they don't score in the first drive. But I think the first drive is going to be, again, really telling because if you see, like you said, another one of those 7.5 minute drives like they did against Kansas City and San Diego, where they're just getting what they want in the run. And again, I don't know what the last two teams, I don't know what the Chargers and the Chiefs are doing, but the Patriots are so, Chris Hogan is just, he had a nice year 2 years ago, an okay year last year when he was healthy. He's really fallen off this year. Philip Dorsett's a nice player. He's not a marquee guy. Philip Dorsett would really, be beneficial as like the third guy against better coverage and stuff. So, I mean, it really just comes down to like the whole offense to me starts and goes through Julian Edelman. So if the Patriots can run the ball and we see Julian Edelman against Roby Coleman just going over the middle and getting whatever he wants, I mean, look out.
They're going to target the hell out of Roby Coleman just because of what he said about Brady. That was really dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I won't make you say it on the air because I don't, but I'm not sure how old you are, but if you were old enough to be watching football in 2007, what was that kid's name? Sean Smith or whatever the safety's name was that, Brady decided to throw 3 touchdowns right over his head to Randy Moss. And the last one was barking at him. Brady's one of those guys that,
was that against the Steelers?
It was, yeah. I forget what his name was.
I remember that so well. What was his name?
He was number 27. It was like Aaron Smith or something like that. It was, but he
Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith. There we go. Brady went out of his way in that game to throw touchdowns over his head to Moss, and then on the last one was barking at him in the end zone. So
the funny thing about that is because he guaranteed, because both teams were like 7-0 or something like that, and this idiot guarantees, he's like, oh, Brady's nothing. I guarantee a win or some stupid thing like that. And they asked Brady, and they're like, what do you have to say about this? He's like, oh no, he just said all the standard things like, oh, we play one game at a time, that's no big deal, blah 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 blah. And that was such a lie because I remember he ran right up, he threw right at that safety, and then he ran up to it and it got in his face.
Like, and it was either, it might have been 3, but I think it was at least 2 touchdowns over his head. And it's funny to me too, because like maybe it's really not that much of a surprise that the guys who are better players just know better. But it's always, it's the Aaron Smiths of the world who was the worst player in that secondary. A couple years ago, it was Bobby McCain, the the corner down in Miami who put out the picture of him on Twitter of him squeezing Brady's head with like the hashtag Crush Brady, and then Brady went
Oh
after
my
him.
goodness.
And now it's Nickel Roby Coleman. Like it's not Aqib Talib or Marcus Peters. Like it's never the elite guy. It's always like the last guy in the group that should be saying anything says something. And like you said, in that game, if you go back and look at it, Brady is one of those guys that, and I think it helps that it's usually somebody who isn't one of the elite guys, but like, I mean, Brady is going to target him all day. So you gotta, I don't know, put him on Philip Dorsett. Do not put him on Julian Edelman, because those two, and Edelman's going to be yapping at him immediately, and it's just going to be, that could get ugly real quick. So maybe he kind of forced Wade Phillips' hand there. But 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, in the 2015 AFC Championship game, I think that Talib played man coverage a decent amount on Edelman in that game, and and did a pretty good job on him, including he was the one who shut him down on the 2-point conversion on the last play of the game when the Pats were down 20-18. So I think that's their best bet. To me, whatever you do with Marcus Peters is not a huge concern, but I think you got to put Aqib on Edelman and try to force the Patriots to beat you any other way. And a big X factor here is going to be the health of Gronkowski. And for me, I hope it is his last Patriot game, because I think that that'll make him really just leave more out on the field. And I think that the Patriots could really, he might. And it seems so weird to talk about that now, saying that Rob Gronkowski is an X factor, because a year or 2 years ago that had been the obvious thing to say. But with the year he's had, I don't think that's an obvious thing to say. And I think that they may need him on Sunday night more than they needed him all year.
I'm shocked that you said he's only 29, because he runs around like he's 49.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's had 13 surgeries. He had, when he became a high-end player, I think there was some level of surprise. But if you go back and look, I mean, his college tape, he was hands down the best player in that draft class from the tight end position. But he fell because a guy who plays that physical and has back injuries is that's a scary proposition. Patriots got so lucky in that draft. They got him. Well, I guess the other one looked like it was going to pan out for a while, but didn't. But they also got Aaron Hernandez in the 4th round because of his off-field issues. But I guess that one came to roost. So, but other than that, Gronk was a player who was easily a top 15 talent, but he's just. I mean, he's had the ACL, he had the broken forearm, and he's had the back issues and concussions. And this is a guy who's just, that's the thing that gets lost more than anything is, he's obviously a great pass catcher and great offensive weapon. But when you watch him week in and week out, the thing you appreciate about him the most is the blocking, because you look at guys like Travis Kelce, who I think is super soft. You look at guys like Jimmy Graham, who was, if you look up the definition of soft in the dictionary, there's a picture of Jimmy Graham. And so, a lot of these guys who have been tight end, wide receiving options are really just glorified receivers, right? They're not actual tight ends. And Gronkowski kind of last of a dying breed in that way. I mean, as bad as he's been in the pass game this year, he had a bad stretch when he was still really bothered by, I think it was his ankle in the middle of the season. Including that Pittsburgh game. There was one play where somebody basically just shed off his block in an embarrassing fashion. I think Gronkowski fell on his face. But outside of that kind of couple game run there, he's been a fantastic blocker all year. I just don't think he has the explosiveness anymore, and I think his body's just worn down. However, he has seemed revitalized the last 2 weeks coming off the bye week, and now he has another bye week. So as a Patriot fan, you got to be hopeful for what you're going to see on Sunday. I would just be surprised if he comes back and does another year with the wear and tear he's already had.
Yeah. Who knows whether he's going to come back or not. I keep hearing that this might be his last game. So, if that's the last game of your career, you're just going to go all out and try to have the game of your life. So that would definitely be good for the Patriots. What about the Patriots defense? The Rams are kind of curious. They started out the year with this high-flying offense, but I think they lost something when Cooper Kupp went away. And now Todd Gurley looks I think he's hurt, and he's just not what he was. And I mean, now, they have CJ Anderson, but how do you think the New England defense is going to do?
Oh, it's gonna depend. This is gonna sound like such a cop out, but it's gonna really depend on Sean McVay here. So to kind of walk through it, I look at the Rams and I agree with you. I don't know how anyone can say that Todd Gurley isn't hurt right now. Um, he doesn't look the same at all, and that's a guy who's had a lot of workload the last 2 years, and I think it's finally caught up with him. So he looked like he was laboring a couple weeks before it really got banged up there at the end of the season. So I have concerns about that for him. As far as the offense in general, McVay's been really smart in creating things that work for Goff. I think the true measure of what makes a good coach a really good coach or a great coach is the thing I mentioned about Belichick earlier. That Belichick's game plans when he comes into a game are, we're going to take away what you do best. And I think a lot of people let their ego get in the way and view that as almost a soft way or a scared way to coach. And you'll hear guys like Dan Quinn after that 2016 Super Bowl defending what the Falcons did at the end of that Super Bowl, saying, well, we do what we do and we stay aggressive instead of actually letting the opponent and the situation, affect his coaching. All that is to say, if McVay can really look at this Patriots defense, he's got to figure out a way to get the linebackers going side to side. Hightower, Landon Roberts, and Kyle Van Noy have really elevated their game coming downhill. Hightower, because he's older, I don't think he can run side to side as much. And Van Noy's just, we had all thought that Van Noy was not a very good player. They started doing this kind of roaming amoeba front that they do now, where they have one down lineman and they have the other 5-6 guys. And I was watching kind of an in-depth film breakdown of this today. I mean, it's pretty amazing this front the Patriots are running. There was a play last week against the Chiefs where they have outside man coverage, and the Patriots have 6 guys on the line, and on the snap, all 6 just come barreling in, and they're running twists and stunts, and they're coming right down. And about a second into it, the slot receiver, who I don't remember who it was at the time, let's just say Chris Conley for easier, Sam Watkins, whatever. One of their inside guys is coming across the middle and has a step inside, and Van Noy, who had been charging full steam ahead, shoves the guard off of him and takes 2 steps back and drops in a delayed zone coverage. And Mahomes has to pat the ball, take it down, run out of the pocket, and throw it away. And it's like, it looks like something's there, and you're like, oh God, here comes an all-out blitz there in cover 0. And then all of a sudden, a linebacker just drops back into coverage. And they'll do that on one play, and then they'll do the same thing on the next play, but all 6 do come. And then they'll do the same thing on the third down, but 2 of the linebackers will drop back and they'll send us, a slot corner on a blitz. And it's their whole game plan right now is designed around being aggressive, coming towards you and trying to confuse you. And no one's lining up, no one's showing blitz, everyone's roaming around. They're all coming for at least a half a second, then some of them back out of there, and it's super confusing. And the Patriots do that really effectively. So how you counteract that is, I don't think you can watch enough. I don't think there's enough game film to watch that and figure it out, because they're mixing it up so much, and they're not really letting the situation dictate it. What I think they need to do is they need to use motion and get the ball moving side to side. You've got to get Kyle Van Noy lined up, in a responsibility in coverage, and get him having to go side to side so that he doesn't have that ability just to drop back underneath. That, he's going to go and move with the, get Gurley in space. I think Gurley is such a huge X factor, and his health is going to be such a big question, because the thing that the Chiefs and the Chargers didn't have was a running back they had to cover. And I went back to it earlier. I think one of the hugest reasons, one of the biggest reasons, the hugest doesn't make sense, but one of the biggest reasons the Chiefs didn't have the success until the fourth quarter that they really had the last 2 years against the Patriots was, in both those games, Kareem Hunt getting about 15 to 20 yards downfield in go routes killed the Patriots, and they didn't have that this time. If Gurley's healthy, the Rams have that, and so that's what they've got to do. They've got to get Gurley matched up on Van Noy. and they got to get him moving down the field and get him out of there because he's out. He's honestly turned into a weapon. And